This segment is all about planning your business for exit and potential sale. Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial, and this segment's brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. Joining me on this segment is Daniel Bishop. He's the founder of Black Swan Advisors. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Daniel, tell us a little bit about your work and specifically who are the types of clients that you help?
We really help three types of clients, and there's a client that's they're building their business, they're getting ready to pivot. They're thinking, I have to do something different. I've got to either grow it or make it more efficient, and they just need more information. They just need to know, like, what are the strategic things we need? What is, for our type of business, what is the pathway going to look like in the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years before we figure out what type of exit or what type of transition we want? And we have ones that are currently like moving, like we have to move this. We are changing the way that we manage the business so that it's not running us and we're running the business more and more and professionalizing different aspects. And then sometimes we have clients that are like, I'm done. Like I got to get out right now. In all three of those instances, we help with the personal and the business side of exit planning, which also is financial planning.
So, business owners are great at starting businesses, running them, and growth, growth, growth. But how much importance do they place, or even understanding, do they have about exit planning?
You know, even just like 10 years ago, people thought, oh, I'm going to give my business to my kid. Like everybody thought that. And now people are realizing, well, there's eight different ways to exit. And sometimes you want to exit in different ways, in multiple different ways. And it's not always the right thing for the kid. And so we're finding a lot more owners are educated about some of their options, but they just don't know what impact taking that option will actually have.
Gotcha. So, when business owners really start thinking about exiting or selling their business, do they have any preconceived notions? Do they think this thing is going to be easy, or what is already on their mind that they think when it comes to exiting?
So yeah, there's definitely certain psychologies that pop up. One thing that comes up pretty common that it relates exactly to what you just said is I was talking to my buddies in the business group, or I was on this golf course and I was talking to these people and they sold their business for this much. And they assume that any of those figures are relevant for them. And sometimes it's completely disconnected. You know, another thing that happens is a lot of business owners think it's a 3 month process to sell your business. And even after we've gotten through and we're getting ready to go to the M&A or transaction people, even then it's a year and a half process. But getting polishing it up and getting it more attractive and getting it ready so that somebody really wants it and it's more valuable, that by itself is usually about a 2, 3, 4 year process. So it's much longer than what people might think to get the most value out of their business.
So it's a heck of a lot different than selling a home or a property, and that's probably what might come to mind for a lot of folks. Can you
Yeah.
talk about, some of the dangers or maybe pitfalls that people run into if they don't, if they neglect proper exit planning?
Yeah. The two most common. So I'm going to speak more of those smaller business sizes. From solopreneur all the way to size 4, where you might have 25, 35 staff. You might have 1 to 5 million revenue. Gets changes a little bit as you get bigger and closer to the middle market. But in the smaller businesses, which usually go to brokerage, not to M&A, not to family offices, in those smaller businesses, usually the problems are um, the owner is still fully centric when they're trying to sell it. And they find out through that process, they go through one seller and another seller that, you know, it looks attractive at first. And then when they start digging into it, it's like, I wouldn't even be able to sell this business unless I stayed with it for 2 or 3 years because it's not owner decentralized. Another thing that happens is a lot of very educated buyers are a little sneaky and they'll say, "Oh, we're going to give you 3 million for your business," But then once you get into the transaction itself, um, there's a lot of lowballing and picking apart, some of it valid, some of it not, to take the terms and drive that deal a very, very different direction than what it seemed like. So the terms drive the deal more than the valuation does. So that's another big thing. And then the third thing that I really I see this almost all the time is they try to sell it themselves, um, without going to a business advisor and then going to the right type of uh, M&A or the right type of broker. And you really probably want an advisor to help you find the right type of broker for your business. And that M&A advisor or that business broker can add a lot of value, a lot more than they're taking. Just like in real estate, it can be really, commercial properties, it can be really dangerous to sell it yourself because very often you're leaving more on the table than you think.
Great insight. In today's economy, post pandemic, has anything changed in the way that you look at exit planning? Anything different?
Um, one positive thing that's changed is it takes less conversations to get a business owner to understand, this business was your life, it's your baby. What are you going to do afterwards? Like, and going through those, figuring out what's your life after business plan. That may be starting another business, but so that's a good thing that's changed. Another thing that's changed is with our older clients, they're starting to feel their pain and they're like, oh, I've got to sell it now. The late baby boomers are really wanting to sell it now, and it's like, you know, unfortunately, a lot of times the business is worth half of what they think it is. But if they did a little bit of stuff, which is hard, it's very hard, it's not easy. But if they did a little bit of stuff over the next 2 or 3 years, they could get even more than what they thought. But they just are already burnt out. They're already been working so long, they've already been working so hard that they just feel like they're done. And so that's an issue where, it's a personal issue why the business gets handed off at a much lower price than it's really worth.
Daniel, what inspired you to get into this field and help business owners with their exits? How did you get started?
I got started in the family office world where, a lot of times a family will have, let's say, maybe they ran a farm or a hardware store, and it got big enough that it became like a family enterprise. And then a lot of times what happens is the guy that was actually running everything um, didn't have his wife in on all the financial conversations, and he gets Alzheimer's, whatever. One of the kids is sort of running the business, but it's the wrong seat. He really shouldn't be in that type of business. He should be in a different one, or he shouldn't even be in business at all. And these businesses have to be repaired, otherwise the cash flow shrinks up. You know, so transitioning for people of wealth, you would not believe how many people look like they're massively wealthy and could be massively wealthy and are also like effectively on the edge of just losing everything
Wow.
because of family dynamics make it much more complicated. And running a small business it's much more profitable than a lot of times other types of investments, but it also has to be managed a lot more than other types of investments.
Gotcha. Before I ask you my last question, Daniel, is there anything in regards to exit planning that I didn't think to ask you that you wish to share with business owners?
Um, you've had some really good questions. The one thing I would say is there's a big unfortunately, exit planning was kind of misnamed originally. It's kind of the right name, but your exit planning should actually start as soon as your business is growing enough. Exit planning is like a 30-year business optimization strategy, not okay, your business is just ready for exit. It's the strategic operational growth value. It's the identification of all those value classes inside your business and then accelerating that value, decentralizing you as a business owner so that you don't get burnout, and then preparing the next generation or the next people to take over that business by the systems and processes. And it's just, that's all work, and it can't be done overnight. So the best businesses um, are doing some value acceleration work and doing strategic and operational planning in decade timelines, not just I push this thing to where now it's big enough to sell and I want to sell it like in a year. That just doesn't get you the value out of it that it's usually really worth.
For business owners listening who would love to speak with you, how can they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Um, you know, we have a bunch of websites. Our main website's probably blackswanfp.com. And there's some information on there. There's an email where you can opt in, and we have often monthly, sometimes weekly. I call it mostly weekly because there's sometimes you just can't do it. We just offer a little bit of education on here's an idea that you need to know. This is the concept that nobody else has told you, that it's common in the middle market, but nobody's told you as a small business owner, but you need to know about this thing. And so obviously we're just trying to educate people to the point where we can even see if they are the right fit for us.
This has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Oh, thank you. You had some great questions.
That was Daniel Bishop. He's the founder of Black Swan Advisors. And the segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.